Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go,
What is going on, crypto fam? Welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Nightcap. We're doing this every Monday through Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are bringing you some of the most important market news as well as technical analysis that you can actually use for tomorrow. And I am very excited for tonight because we have a very special guest. It is CVO Crypto. We're gonna bring him up in one moment, but we got all kinds of news. Bitcoin was exploding today, and it rejected off of that very key resistance level that we were looking at yesterday on this here show. So that is why you guys need to tune in. And with that being said, let's go ahead and bring up our special guest as well as Detroit's own FD White. Let's get it. There it is. CVO Crypto. What's up, my dude? Welcome to the channel. How you doing?
Doing well, gentlemen. Thanks for having me. Been enjoying these little nightcaps you guys put on. Like I was telling TradeFly earlier, it's very unique. I think this is something that'll take off, over time. So I'm happy to be here. Excited to look at Bitcoin. Excited to get some other perspectives. As far as TA goes, always was a fun time there. As we were saying, it's there's no one way to trade a market. So always a good time, kind of getting in the same room with some like minds.
Yeah, absolutely. FD, my dude, what's up, man?
I can't complain, man. I put a new picture up, man. My new Van Gogh. I paid $18 million for this. You know what I mean? So I had to bring it to the Nightcap family, man. So shout out to everybody out there, man. Appreciate you for stopping by, CVO. Appreciate you for coming on. TradeFly, let's get it.
All right, man. You know the deal. We got to run through the chat, say what's up to everybody in here. And I'm going to start it off with Clate the Great. He hit it up with the hootie hoo. How you doing? Usernames in the chat. He is one of our old faithfuls. Let's make sure he acts right tonight. But, for
hootie
you.
Hoo.
Sharks with freaking laser beams.
There it is. Username. That's for you, man. All right. Let's scroll down here. See what we got. We got Trade Intuition. Joe is in the chat. My man, he's going to be on the channel tomorrow, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, FD, but I think he's going to be on here tomorrow. So go ahead, check his channel out. And speaking of which, check out people's channel.
It'll be Thursday.
Thursday? Got it. It's Biomex. Biomex is going to be on tomorrow, and then we'll have Joe on Thursday. But speaking of socials, go ahead down to the details and the what is that description down below. Check out. I got CVO Crypto in there, both his X as well as his YouTube. So again, go support him. Like, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Show him some appreciation from the Crypto Nightcap fam. We would appreciate that. All right, going down through the chat. Wick's wife, fine 89. I love the way that rhymes. Gosh, every time, man, it gets me. All right, going down. Alexandra G, how you doing? Best mind in the house. She's my SoCal lady. And going down. Harp's in the chat. What's up, my dude? How you doing? Indie Rock Crypto, our unofficial hype man. How you doing? Caffeinated Crypto's in here. Eric, my man, ballin', wallin'. Let's go. Crypto Poyo Cluck, my dude. How you doing? Let's see. Username. Let's see what he's got to say. Since he tagged me, I'll read what he's got to say. Someone has to keep you in line to continue running the best nighttime crypto show. You are welcome. Now let's cut down being late to start. I'm sorry. What do you want from me, man? I'm trying. I'm making sure everything's good to go. But today, hey, it was only 2 minutes and we did an ops check before. So there you go. We got audio. Everything's looking good. It's going to be a good night. All right, going on. Keeping it going. Mike Plays in the house. How you doing? And then Marcus Jones. How you doing? Here because my boy CVO and a great show. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for stopping by. CVO, you're bringing us the people already. T-Bone 34. Sup, man? How you doing? Nice to see you in here. My man Mark Dutch is in the chat. Did you change your picture? I'm gonna have to go look at that. It looks like you changed your picture on me. I'm gonna check that out. Jay Violet's in the house. Buck, my man, the Marine. How you doing? All right. I think I hit everybody. So here we go. We got a few things to talk about in the news, and we will get to those things first. But I will ask you guys first, is there anything that you guys are kind of tracking on? Any news that you would like to talk about, or just anything that kind of happened today or recently, current events that you guys want to cover? I'll start it off with CVO, and then I'll go to FD, and then we'll go ahead and go through the unofficial news.
So I'm not sure if you're familiar with me, but I actually go by Zero News. So and not to be like ignorant towards it, or like to be insensitive to certain things at certain times, because I do know that like obviously there's correlation, but I actually just don't really pay too much attention to it. I feel that it kind of keeps people a little bit more on the emotional side, right? Like, so as we kind of get into low areas, news is always the scariest. As we get into the highs, news is always exciting. So,
Fair.
I'll keep up with it, but obviously, honestly, I'm not a great news person. I don't even want to pretend.
Nah, all good, man. And so that's one of the big things that we kind of talk about on here, that like some of the economic factors, some of the news ultimately will drive price action. And that's kind of why we tie it in here. But at the same time, I have very much been burnt by the news as well, where I've jumped on trades thinking that the news was going to have an impact on where I thought price action was going to go. And sure enough, it did the opposite. So I can understand where you're coming from. And there are many, many people that are like, hey, just listen to the charts. And I totally get that, respect that. So cool. FD, my man, you got anything for the people, or shall we kick it?
So I did see, I don't know if this is a metric that everybody or people look at, but Bitcoin, let me see, I pulled it up. Bitcoin reserves on centralized exchanges hit a record low today. And then the ETF spot volume broke 4 billion these past couple of days. So I mean, that is, if you go by those metrics, those two metrics are pretty bullish for long-term effects of Bitcoin, hopefully. So just two things that was on my radar.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I think we're going to talk a little bit about the ETFs. They are doing phenomenally well here recently. So there's a little something we'll talk about there. So let's go ahead and get into it. First up, Grayscale looks to convert its digital large cap fund into an ETF. So what does that fund contain? It contains BTC, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and AVAX. A lot of big dogs in there. Definitely interesting to see. We have already talked about AVAX and XRP in relation to Grayscale. And then I think BTC, ETH, and Sol are kind of old news, to be honest with you. And AVAX XRP has been a little bit more of recent, probably the past 2-3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks or so. I think we talked about that. That's why we saw those moves up. XRP had that big bump up, and AVAX had that big bump up, and it was based, I believe, on this news here. So they might be a little bit late to the party, but that's all right. Next thing up is related to the ETF, just like we kind of talked about. They've recorded a total net inflow of 18.9 billion and currently hold around 890,000 Bitcoin, accounting for approximately 3% of the total Bitcoin trading volume. So as you can see, ETFs are having an impact on the market, and they are growing, and there's going to be more and more exposure to those as people learn about them and as they're recommended. Remember that just because the ETF was actually approved, they weren't yet being recommended by a lot of those financial advisors initially. It actually took them time before they started implementing those recommendations and putting them into different funds, right? Because think about a lot of the retirement funds. It's funds, okay? So it's a conglomerate of different ETFs or exposure to different companies, tech companies, and a lot of it has to do with the risk that you are willing to take. So a lot of times you talk to a financial advisor, like, okay, what's your risk level? Are you not, tolerant of risk? Are you moderate? Are you aggressive? And hello, who is this? How are you doing? I guess it's starting a video here, but yeah. So they'll ask you that up front, right? And for me, when I first started investing, I was like, yep, aggressive. And they're like, well, you sure about that? That you could like lose a lot of money. And I was like, I don't have any money to lose. So let's just go all out. And I've kind of kept that. And then as you get older, the tendency for a lot of people is to start tailoring it back a little bit. I will say that I talked to a very good financial advisor, and let's go up to the trio cam. Not going to beat you up too much with watching all that stuff on the side, but he was like, what if I told you you were stupid? And I was like, I'm listening. He was like, look, all you got to do is take this aggressive growth fund and then compare it to both the moderate and the more conservative funds. Do it out over a 5-10 year period. And he's like, you're going to win every time. And he was like, just go ahead, stay in that fund all the way up until almost the end. Like once you've locked that in and you're about to like, okay, I'm done with this. He was like, then, all right, cool. You can go to something a lot more conservative to kind of lock those funds in. But be very, very careful because a lot of times it depends on where you're at in a cycle too. I've seen that with my parents. They were getting out at a bad time and they're like, well, I think we're going to convert it to something conservative. I was like, please don't do that. Not right now, because this is the time that you should actually continue to add to your portfolio and lower that cost there, that entry, right? That entry price. And so hindsight for her, she looked back on it. She's like, I should have listened. But it is what it is. Let's go ahead and get back to, what do I got here? Oh, I know what time it is. You know what? First, I'll let you guys touch on what you think. FD, I'll pass it over to you. CVO, if you wanna chime in on that a little bit, you can. If you want to continue to be like, bleh, news is news, that's up to you. But I'll ask FD, what do you think of the ETFs, and what do you think about their impact on the market?
Well, I mean, we saw the impact on the market, at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, I don't know if it was like people front running the move, if it was actually, it was ETFs or it was money coming into the ETFs, but there was also a lot of speculation, a lot of hype, a lot of FOMO, with these things. So, I mean, I'm not really I'm not really like that privy on that metric. I know if the ETF, if they have to, they say they're buying physical Bitcoin in order to back the ETFs, but I also heard that they've been getting, IOUs from Coinbase and things like that too. So it's just one of those things where I have to do a little bit more, digging and a little bit more due diligence. But as long as people are, we're seeing these numbers that, oh, ETF flow is this high, it's breaking all-time highs, it's breaking records, then the speculation and the FOMO will keep it going. It'll keep, kicking it in. So it'll be like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right on. CVO, you got anything?
So for me, devil's advocate, I guess, the ETFs just kind of really remind me of like on-chain data. And like what I mean by that is like back in the day, at least like 2021, like top of the market and all that stuff, right? There was many times, like I guess like certain data, I guess could be correlated, but I feel like it's just something that, there's ETF inflows coming in one day, then there's outflow, but it's like every time I at least come across it, it's kind of after the move or what have you. Potentially sometimes there's a little bit of a front run, but if you ask me about, do the ETFs have an effect on the market? I guess the best example of that is that, the ETFs hit and pretty much right at the highs, and we've done nothing but, pretty much range and then dump, almost over 30% at times where, as a normal like retracement in Bitcoin and things like that. So personally, once again, just, somebody who just kind of shifts that to the side. I do keep an eye on it, like in a sense, once again, like at a very high level, but I don't necessarily, I feel like that is another big emotional piece, right? So like, for example, if Bitcoin just shoots at, which I do think Bitcoin's going to go for the all-time highs here pretty soon, but at those highs, what happens is people think that it's up only, right? And it's just there's never a 10% pullback or a 15% pullback or 20% pullback, and those ETF inflows are going to be the highest they've ever been, and it just kind of blinds people from the shorter time frame, I think. Granted, depending on how you're an investor, I mean, if you're looking at the larger time frame anyways, it shouldn't matter, right? You should be prepared to go through decades and wars and all the things, right? Just like anybody that's been invested in Amazon and Apple for 30 years, like there's been the same kind of movement that we see in Bitcoin or even the current stock market. But personally, I don't think that it's it's that main driver that everybody really thinks it is. I think that it's just something that just kind of it's like CPI data, right? In a sense where it's like you get these big pumps and it's on a CPI day and it's like correlated a little bit, but to me, I just don't really give it too much merit.
And then
personally.
2 to 3 months later, you get the revised numbers and you realize it was all a lie.
There you go.
Yeah. Man, we talk about that all the time on the morning show. But yeah, man, I think for me, it's not so much that I trade seeing the inflows and the outflows or any of that. Like, not all volume is good volume. I try to tell people all the time, right? It's a lot of these numbers are like, oh, there's billions of dollars of volume. Like, okay, how much was it outflows? How much was inflows? Like, and then what's the net? But really, that's not the aspect that I actually care about. The aspect that I care about is that grandma and granddad and cousins and uncles and the people that are in traditional ways of investing, 401ks, Roth IRAs, are now getting exposure, which raises an interest level. Okay, we got to get past a lot of the nonsense with FTX and all that stuff, that whole fiasco, right? We're still kind of digging out of a hole a little bit, because I don't think retail has truly re-entered the market the way it did in 2021, like back in April when we were hitting those all-time highs. If you look at the volume, it was through the roof in comparison to where we're at now. So when we hit this high recently, the volume, like, staggering how different it is, which was very, very interesting. I think it has a lot to do with what FD said. People were front running the ETF. I think it's institutional buying too. Like, there was a lot of OTC purchasing that was happening that wasn't actually hitting the exchanges too. So that might be some of that correlation or that difference there between the volume you were seeing back then to the volume you're seeing now. But yeah, man, I think it's an exposure thing.
No, I agree to that too. And like I said, it's more so for me, I guess it's like the lower time frame of it. Cause like, in the bigger picture, in order for Bitcoin to be adopted and kind of evolve and continue to evolve, I mean, it's been adopted at this point. Like it's in the stock market. It's, we have, ETF traded funds. We're moving into Ethereum. Like, there's other pieces coming along the way, and Bitcoin's already been listed, since 2017, at least on CME. So it's there. And I will say that if we're going to get the trillions of dollars in market cap over the time, like, we're going to have to be able to introduce it to grandparent, the people with bigger money, and not even just grandparent. I talked to Gary Cardone earlier on this year, and he made a really good point that, as far as the retail would go, right, you really only have one main on-ramp, or you did until now, which was Coinbase. And, if you put a couple 100,000 into Coinbase, you only are insured, and really it's not even a real FDIC, but 150K, 250K, whatever that is. I mean, if you have 5 million, 10 million, $50 million of, assets that you want to, kind of chunk into this, which there are a lot of people with that kind of money, they can't do it there. They're not going to just throw it in a cold storage, like a ledger that, has already been hacked and all these things. So, that is, one thing I guess I will say about that, where it's like, these ETFs do allow for the, the evolution here. And then we have the hedge funds and everything else. So, I mean, the natural progression, I think, is just that lane anyhow. But I mean, I will agree that in the larger grand scheme of things, that yes, I mean, they're definitely things that matter. I just don't get I guess I'm pointing out the wrapped up in like a short term. Like, if today we had a huge, influx of ETFs, and then tomorrow you get like a 7% dump or a 5% dump, which we all know, a 5% dump in Bitcoin makes people completely shift sides. We've seen it literally for the last 7 months. That's, I guess, where like those, like, very time sensitive, flows and certain news catalysts, I guess I just kind of try to sift through.
Yeah, man. Right on. All right, cool. We got a couple people late arrivals, we'll say, in the chat. We'll say what's up to a couple people. If I miss you, I'm sorry. There's just a couple names that I see that I recognize. So Wick589, what's up, my guy? Alex O Crypto, he is fam. What up, my dude? Maxey33, you're new as far as I know, at least being in the chat. So what's up? Want to say hi to you. The Biomax, he's going to be on with us tomorrow. And who else do we got here? Scrolling down. Lasers. There we go.
Sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their
And then
heads.
Piper's in the house. What's up, my dude? This is Piper's channel, if you guys didn't know. So just taking over. All right. Well, you guys know what time it is. I already saw it in the chat a little bit. Go ahead, bring them up, Mr. Elmer Fudd. All right. So people are talking about this left and right. I don't really know what's coming from it. So Tesla has, I guess, activated or they're moving some Bitcoin around from one wallet to another. All right, but it is 11,500 Bitcoin valued at over 760 million. So they have hodled like it's hot. There's no doubt about that. They've kept that, I think, for about 2 years or so. Yep. Is the first transaction in 2 years. So I guess that could have a little movement in the market, but it ain't that crazy. Don't get too overly concerned about it. I don't think that they're just going to dump it on your face. They could literally just be moving it. It hasn't said that they're actually selling off. There could be a reason for what they're doing, and who really knows. But I keep seeing everybody with the old dump memes and all kinds of like nonsense and the sirens and the alarms, like their own version of Elmer Fudd saying, "Oh my God, Tesla's selling it. They're going to dump it on our face as soon as Bitcoin goes up." I've seen some just absolutely ridiculous posts. So I don't think it's going to be that crazy, and I'll just throw that out there. But I wanted to bring it up because everyone's talking about it. So don't be fudded out by Tesla moving some Bitcoin around. All right, let's go over to the economic calendar real quick here and talk about that. We got retail sales month over month. That's coming out October 17th. So that'll be on Thursday. We got building permits. That will be on Friday, October 18th. For the following week, you'll have durable goods orders month over month, JOLTS job openings. And to get all your alpha on that, go ahead and tune into the morning show at 0930 Eastern Time. Piper is amazing at breaking down all the macroeconomics. He's your dude for that. All right. Total market cap currently sitting at 2.3 trillion. That is up 0.30%. 24-hour trading volume is at 107 billion, which makes for a 12.75% increase. That is slightly off of the 90% yesterday, but still moving in a positive direction. So again, this is just volume. We don't say what's good, what's bad. It's just volume. All right. So Bitcoin dominance. So that has been on a move, and that is up to 57.4%. And that is an increase of 0.56%. So it doesn't look like much, but if you look at the chart, it looks pretty gnarly. All right, fear and greed index is currently sitting at neutral, which is 58. And then let's go ahead and look at your trending coins. You got Hooked, Protocol, Sui, and Avo. So Sui still up in there, but it looks like it might be trending in the wrong direction. All right, let's go over to the crypto bubbles. Not a lot of green on the board. Litecoin is at 6.7. I think there was just recently some good news there. I think it's an ETF. I think there's an ETF in the works for Litecoin. I think that's why it's moving. Turbo, we talked about that a little bit yesterday, just kind of giggling about that movie. That's up 4.9%. Let's see, Chili's. Yeah, there you go. Chili's is up 5.4%. Phantom's up 2.9%. Other than that, nothing too crazy to write home about in terms of big movers in the green side. But for red, we got Popcat. That's in at 8.6%. Bread is at 7.9%. Bonk 5.8%. Bitcoin Cash, no surprise there. It had a really big move. That is down 7.9%. And SEI down 6.9%. Sui down 7.6%. Also not extremely surprising given the big move up. You knew you were going to hit a little bit of resistance. I believe it did set an all-time high. We'll have to look at it on the charts again, but I think it set an all-time high. But of course, once you get up near those highs, right, you're likely to have a lot of people start taking some profits. It's just the nature of the game. So for it to have a little bit of a pullback, not overly surprising. Where it could go, we'll have to look at that. All right. Liquidation heat map. I got the 3-day pulled up right now, and currently you can see the hot spot is at 68K. That came in real hot, real quick. I think, a lot of people were probably looking at that series of lower highs. It makes a lot of sense to see a sell-off right around that area. Not going to lie there. So you do see leveraged long positions actually building up as well. So this is either a leveraged long or somebody has, not somebody, but probably a few people have stop losses set in this area at about 64,550, and then a little bit further down about 63.5. So remember those two numbers. 68K is easy to remember, but 64.5-ish and about 63.5. So 64.5, 63.5. Let's look at that on the chart real quick here. Let's go here. So where did I say? 64.5. Okay, that makes sense. You can see where you got that wick here. So just underneath of that, you can see people are looking at that area of support and then putting leverage long positions as well. Stop loss is just underneath of where they see support, right? For 63.5, let's look at that one. And that kind of makes somewhat sense. That one would be easy to take out. And so if you're looking at a horizontal level of support as well as the 0.236 on this fib retracement, which actually is not really applicable now because we have now moved past that. But actually, if you move that up, that could actually make sense. And I think I have it locked. Mark Dutch, see? I got it locked for you, dude. Can't get mad at me. So
63.4 is actually the target I have for the short that I'm in right now. So that's an interesting confluence there.
So that would be a good play. And well, I don't know that it'll be a good play, but the liquidity a lot of times in my mind will drive some of that price action. And for you to be just underneath of where that liquidity is sitting, it makes sense, to be honest. Do you look at the liquidation heat map at all? Is that part of your analysis?
I do not, but
Okay.
usually, I mean, the way I trade anyways, I mean, it's looking at highs and lows, and usually that's where we're, taking out liquidity regardless. So,
liquidity.
No, I mean, but I do see like, the couple people in my group and stuff, I'll constantly put it up, and I mean, it seems to work pretty well for many.
It does. My best trade this year I was looking at 50K. So I zoomed out. I think I was on like the 2-month, and I was like, okay, where's the bulk of liquidity sitting? And dude, it was like billions of dollars sitting around 50K. And I was like, there ain't no way. There's no way we're going to continue to the upside without them coming back and getting that liquidity and then making that move up. And then I was like, well, hold on. Let me look at this some more. And I was like, not only could we come back, shake out retail, institutions can buy in for cheaper, and we could clear out this liquidity so the exchanges are happy, we're actually still keeping a bullish structure. I was like, sign me up for that. So I was on like the live stream of the morning show. I was like, cool, I'm putting that in. I let that sit for, dude, probably a month and a half, 2 months. And then it finally came down. And that's probably where I put in my biggest bag. And I don't know like how much you've kind of watched, but one of the big things for me, go back over to the chart here, I've been looking at this area right here. All right, so this is a channel that really goes back to about 2020. I'll go to the weekly here because it's very important. And I know we got some new people in the chat, so those that are not new, you get to see this again. All right, so this channel right here, very simple TA, went from high to high, and then where do we find support underneath of those highs? Right here, just drew a nice simple channel. But look at this, man. The median was actually acting as resistance when we got to the highs. And then we've been holding support here on the weekly. We haven't closed underneath of this on the weekly in months, right? So we got on top of it. This is where we had a retest and then shot off, but we have not closed underneath of that channel. So something I've been keeping an eye on, as well as we got a little horizontal level. But this is an area that I'm keeping track on. And again, you guys have heard it from me before. Until we break this trend, I'm riding it out. So I am in that position at 50K. That's kind of where I went the hardest. But this is probably the area, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm thinking about taking profits here. And this is why. Looking at this trend, all right, you see a series of lower highs, all right? It's one of those things is like, where do you get out at, right? Do you just ride this thing? Do you watch it go all the way up and all the way back down, which I've already done? I watched it come off of here. I watched it go up, identified a trend, came back down, hit the channel, went back up again. I'm not saying it's not going to go higher. It's just I'm comfortable where I'm at in my trade right now. I'm comfortable where some of my other coins are at right now. I think I may just take profits and then step back and reevaluate. Have a couple low stress days for a little while. Go touch some grass and enjoy life. I'm okay with that. So that's what I'm looking at right now for me. So you got this intersection here of trend lines, right? So trends within trends, we kind of talk about those, but the big one here is this one at about 68K. So if we break that, I think it's going to be off to the races. I think we go revisit this all-time high. We revisit this median, and I think that's very much in play, but we got to get over top of it. All right. Get over top of it. I would like to see a retest personally. Like if I was going to go to long again, with a bigger bag, I'd like to see this retest. If you get an explosive move just up to the all-time high, I'll probably miss that move. Full transparency. But if we do get a retest and then I can see this continuation of RSI, this is the prime oscillator. So if you guys don't know, chart prime is what we use as an indicator package. This is the prime oscillator. I would like to see that continuing up and right as well. with that retest, and then I'll feel a little bit more comfortable. I think the 2021 high is a nice psychological number at about 69K to look for that continuation up and right as well. So I'm going to keep it very basic today. We got the man on here, CVO Crypto. So we're going to go ahead and let him knock out some TA for us, and that is the treat for you guys tonight. So CVO, over to you, man.
Nice. All right. So I'm going to kind of back it up a little bit here. And can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So obviously we've got, the overall range that, we're all pretty familiar with at this point, since we pushed up into this earlier this year. I mean, we're going on February to now. So pretty lengthy, right? I just want to point out at these highs up here, I was trading a couple of patterns that actually I was looking for a major reversal here. And a lot of that was actually based on Ethereum, which I might get into here in a bit. But either way, I was targeting $43,000 when we were up at these levels, right? And there was a multitude of reasons for that. We had a couple other areas there too. And I was timing that out with some things. I was, fib time essentially at the end of the day. You don't want to get too carried away with it, but I was looking for basically around August 6th to August 8th for that move to come down. And on the 5th, we got this move here to 48K, which is where you got your big bag. Lucky you. And I did want to just point out here, right? So that a big piece of, what I'm looking at here is that I do think that there's a big chance that this was the low. And the reason why is that generally, we had this huge uptrend, right, for basically all of 2023, up to the 2024 this year. And a lot of times you'll get only a 0.382 retrace on a strong trend before you get continuation, right? So many are going to target 0.5, your gold pocket. I think you guys look at the 0.75 a lot. As many should, right? So, but gold pocket for me is a big one I tend to look at as well. It's right below this low, right? It kind of would make sense that 40, or that's 35,000. But anyways, 43 was a couple of other areas for me. But when we came down and we got the reaction off of this 382, you took out 50K, like you said, right? All that liquidity, everything of that nature, stopped out anybody that if they were getting, into long positions that I'm sure not many got in right at these lows, right? More than anything, it was getting in around these levels, stop loss below 50K, nice round level. Or if there was anybody riding this up, they're moving their stop loss up over time, right? So you stopped out all these people, and then you get the move back up, right? And, we've seen the 0.382 continuation, this whole move up. This was a 0.382, got continuation. This was a 382, got continuation. Even this was a 382, got continuation. And then we got the entire move now, 382 bounce. I'm looking at this. Obviously, anything can still happen. But for me, I've leaned very bullish ever since that time frame. Also, I had ETH come down to 2,100 from 4K, which I also shorted from 4K down to 21, which was over almost a 50% move. With the ETF buzz all going, it was a really kind of once again, it was an emotional thing to kind of go through at the time, right? Because the news was so bullish. But anyways, this came down. Ethereum kind of came to that level. So I've been kind of correlating the two for the last few months here. And then what have we done, kind of ever since, right? We got this move up here. If you look at the entire range that we've been sitting in, once again, with a, fixed range volume profile, I know you guys are familiar with that. This is the overall range that we've been in, right? Nice and simple. I know I got a couple of levels here, so I'll kind of get into what those are. But from that 48, 50K low, we bounced back in, right? Kind of got into this region. Now at the time, this was actually the point of control back here at this level here. And then we got this dump once again. All right. And when you get these, almost like a W formation right here, right? Or just like an M top or double tops, double bottoms. What I start to look for are harmonic patterns, which is a sequence of Fibonacci. All right. So a really great example of that is back here when we got this dump, right? We dumped in here, you got this high, and then you came in and you took the lows. What I was looking for back here, I call it the all-time high shark, should be somewhere around here. It was this right here. All right. So this was my little reversal pattern at the time. Right into the highs. Ethereum was at that 4K level. And then the three targets of this was these right here, which took a hot minute to come into play, right? 0.5 Fibonacci. You don't really get the gold pocket on this setup right here. And then we nuke usually right through the gold pocket to the 886. And then ultimately you're targeting basically to take the lows, the 113. And then from there, we just start ranging once again, right? So I bring that up because when we got this move, I started to kind of pay attention for a new potential pattern here. And you can't marry it, right? Because it's not completed yet. The only way to really trade off of these is once they're completed. But if you don't start looking for, for me, if I'm not looking for it or paying attention for it beforehand, you might miss it when they get completed. So the next, little double bottom area, realistically, on a simple measure, you could just look at this as a I believe that was a 786, pullback here. But there's a potential here for another harmonic pattern right here, right? So, and I was looking for the pullback to this region, could have went as low as 50. But we got the nice reaction right here. And then during that time frame in the group and pretty much on all my channels there, I was looking for 54K to get reclaimed. At the time, this was our range, right? So I'll kind of just highlight that really quickly. Let's see which one I was looking at there. Let's just look at right here. So price action was there. And you can see how we just basically came down to the low of the range, got the reclaim. All right. So now I'm looking at potentially, this pattern to kind of start taking place, looking at least to run this back up your point of control. Obviously you run the range here. And then now we've got some of this smaller time frame stuff going on right here. All right. So now this was October 1st. So let's talk about Pumptober, right? Everybody got super excited going into October. And what did we get? Nothing crazy, but enough to, like we said earlier, where you get 4, 5, 6, 10% pullbacks, which are super normal. You get all these, quick moves up, just like we're getting right now, and everybody falls into up only, like it will never pull back again. And this is, obviously October 1 right here. And what did we get, right? So for me, we got a new quarter. There's a couple new key levels I look to every month and quarter and so on. And a couple of those targets were down here, right? So this was a big monthly level of support. This was untapped at the beginning of the month, obviously. And there's a point of control here as well, right? So I was just kind of looking for this little key zone, and we started to pull back right away. Came down and we front ran them, right? So if you look at things such as like order flow, which is like a footprint chart, and like I said, I'm not going to get too much into that, but you could basically see that this was basically a weak low, right? So there wasn't much, volume here, wasn't much participation, and we front ran this. So for me, I was anticipating that we would come back down and take it. I was looking for a potential ABC correction, which we see quite often, which is essentially this, right? So from here, you get a nice little pullback, you push back up, you come down. This is your A wave, B wave, C wave, and then you continue the uptrend essentially, right? So that's what I was looking for. I was kind of talking to you guys earlier. I was running around with a hurricane last week, so I actually missed as far as like a short-term trade. I got in on some of my spot entries on. I've just been picking up altcoins and Ethereum on pretty much all three of these little hits, right? So the best entries obviously would have came back at this 48K drop. The second best one was 54K, which is where I pretty openly re-entered. If you're not familiar, I sold pretty much a lot of my positions back in March at $3,200, $3,300 Ethereum, and then waited this whole time, right? I had short trades and all that stuff across the board. But I entered back heavily right here at about 54K Bitcoin, but I went into altcoins heavily. This move here, I was pointing out that the next best entry from these three so far would be that 59K when we were coming down to it. And for anybody looking at a simple gold pocket, right, this was a straight up, let me go ahead and take this off really quickly, right, for this price action right here. When we dropped right here and we front ran this level, we just came back, simple gold pocket, hit. And then we continued lower, tagged the key level. And then from there, it's just been a rocket right up, right? And this was my target at the time, 67,300. And from here, that's the key level I'm looking to flip to get any more upside. And then I did want to point out that going back to the three last areas where, the entries. And when I say entries, I'm a trader, don't get it wrong. I do a lot of short-term trades, but I also aim like huge on mid to long-term plays on altcoin positions, right? Because that's obviously where the not the most money over forever is going to be, but at times we're going to see those 10, 20, 30 X's come from that, not necessarily Bitcoin, Ethereum. And in my opinion, Bitcoin's kind of running out of steam on its dominance climb, right? I'm sure we can almost all agree on that. But so these two hits came, and this region was really important because once again, if you go back to the overall range that we've been trading in, and I'm just kind of trying to cover the last couple months of the Bitcoin price action, because once again, I'm not covering any news here. I couldn't tell you what happened where. This is just simple technicals across the board, right? And in a simple range that seems boring to many, but it's been amazing otherwise. But this was basically the low, right? The range low here. We broke back into the range once again. We front ran it right here. You came down, you got your back test right here of the low, and then so on, we're running, right? So now we're looking to rotate the range from low to high, right? Come up to that $70,000 area. We've already hit 67. There's a major key level up here at 71.4. In my eyes, I think at this point, we would probably run it and fulfill that harmonic pattern I was just kind of covering that takes us up to new all-time highs, all right, 75 to 78K. Short-term wise, right, what are we looking at? So for me, this move up here, I mentioned earlier, I'm in a short. I'm very bullish in the sense of, and I say that like not overly, I'm not like, you know, obnoxiously married to the fact that, oh, we have to go up from here. But mind you, I'm in from lower. So, you know, these pullbacks don't bother me as much as it would somebody that's just entering or, you know, down bad. And every time it pumps, it like drops again and things like that. Right. So you had entry 1, entry 2, entry 3. And then I know that you had brought up the lower high situation, which is totally valid. I did want to point out one thing here, right? You got your, you know, your high, your low, your lower highs, your lower low, your lower high, your lower low, high. But now we got a change in structure potentially, right? So now we come up and we got a higher low, we got a higher high, we got a higher low, we got a higher high. I would argue that the trend is absolutely changing right here. And that 63, 400, 63.5, really all the way down to like 62-ish, I guess you could like kind of really look for right here would probably be the next best, you know, kind of fresh entry zone that I'd be looking for. But one thing I did want to point out, and the reason I'm looking at 63,400 is that not only was I looking for this A, B, C correction and then run it up to that monthly point of control, now we had, once again, what do you got here? That little W formation, that double bottom. And I've been calling this one the Halloween shark. And just like that shark we had over here, this is something that we've been, you know, playing around with and targeting in the group. And once again, you can't trade off of this when we're down here, but I very much, you know, targeted this move, especially with the bounce out of here, with the high comes in right there. I mean, like I said, these are sequences of Fibonacci that have very specific rule sets to them. So far, this is valid. And the targets of this, once again, is the 0.5 fib retracement, the 886 and the 113. But what this can turn into is, and this is just a thing I don't know it will, but it's just interesting. You noted those liquidation things on the heat map or whatever. But if you come down to this 0.5 and you hold it, it's called the shark to 5.0. And that's just where you come down and you get the continuation back to the upside. So that's what I'm looking for at the moment. Now, there are some key levels right below it. However, if we start to lose this level, you know, like, and I mean, very much like a 4-hour candle lose this level, there's no gold pocket on this trade. It's straight back down to 59K and potentially 57. But for me, I don't want to overlook this. And I really want to point that out more so in the grand scheme of the current situation where, once again, we've got lows, higher low. This would be a higher low, right? And we got our new higher highs coming in. So that's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. How I've managed to, you know, go through here. You know, I'm not catching every single move either on short-term leverage position. You know, I always say that not everything has to be leveraged to the tits, you know, but just identifying key areas where I'm expecting reversals is where I go heavier into altcoins for the short term. I'm not for the short term, for the mid to long term runs, right? Just buy and holds. And then obviously, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you know, off and on throughout, and then the long-term holds as well. So hope that all makes sense.
Yeah, no, awesome, man. I appreciate the analysis. Definitely. Yeah, and I agree with you. That's one of the things I was saying, trends within trends, right? Like you have a trend that's kind of going down, but then you have, like you said, the structure is flipping, and that's kind of this other trend line that I think I want to say I put on my charts. I think it was on a Friday on the morning show, and I was like, hey, like there's this new trend of, you know, a series of higher highs and higher lows, like you said. So always that game, but there's confluence here with where they cross. And that was one of the things that kind of gave me pause. And I was like, you know what? Like I said, like for entering down at like 50K, like I'm cool with this. Like I'm cool with taking profits on that trade. So that's kind of, yeah, that's kind of my thing. So yeah, dude, I am bullish on Bitcoin still. There's no doubt about that. It's just one of those things. I saw confluence and I was like, you know what? I'm good here. Like, good trade, walk away a winner. and you know, so take the wife to dinner. But cool, man. Let's go ahead. Oh, you know what? I do have a question for you. Are you a pattern guy? Do you believe in? Do you like patterns? Okay. Okay. I only asked that because some people are very anti-patterns. They're like, they're dumb. All right. So what are your thoughts on this being the world's largest bull flag and cup and handle, huh? What are your thoughts on that? It's both. I mean, oh, it's crazy. I mean, you're talking about it's well over 100, that's for sure. So let's see. Still a little trend line here. Let's go from here to base. Move that up. Just a little rough swag. Over 100K. So yeah, I mean that was shown about 103, but I don't think we're gonna see that. So my high side target was 88K. We did actually a video on it. My high side target was 88K. But it could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less. Just depends on how quick you get to this. Very, very simple TA for the record. Like I literally drew a line from all-time high to all-time high. And I was like, let me extend this all the way out. I see that there's clear support here. There is a channel it's respecting. I mean, that would put you somewhere around 91, 92. And that's the like very, very simple. I had some other things in confluence that kind of led me to 88 being a driving factor. But that's kind of my high side. And I think that once you get up near that 100K mark, I think there's going to be a lot of profit taking. It's psychological. I think that can only hear TradeFly. Uh-oh. Interesting. All right. No, it might be. Yeah. Let me see here. Oh, because I'm just sharing my screen. How about now? Let me see. Go ahead and say something.
Test.
Check.
1, 2.
Check.
This should work. I see it showing up on the audio there. So there you go. All good.
Oh, okay.
All right, sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, there's two different ways I guess the audio comes through. So when you guys are sharing your own screens, then it pulls it straight from VDO. When I'm sharing my screen, at least on this one, I guess I have to enable a different different mixer. I
got a question. I got a question for CVO. How do you feel about, because this is a big thing that a lot of traders have been starting to use. Saw it used a lot last cycle, at the end of last cycle, and a lot, this cycle, divergences. Do you incorporate divergences like, bullish, bearish, hidden divergences in your analysis?
Yeah. The only thing about that is like, it just depends on how you're looking at it. I mean, it's definitely, as we all know, you could have divergences for weeks before they start to play out. I mean, the DXYs had divergences for like 20 years if you really look at it. But yes, I do use it. I think it's, pretty helpful in adding, another layer of confluence to, what you're looking at for sure. I definitely think that's something.
Yeah.
So what I'm gaining from what you're saying is, the more, well, this is how I think, the more confluence at an area, or the more confluence with a potential trade, the heavier I'll go in, or the lighter I'll go in, or I won't enter at all. Do you have like a certain number of confluences that you look for, or is it just something that you like, okay, it met this, my first one, my major one, and now, I might have one more confluence. Will that dictate how much you put into a trade, or how big you go, or with leverage, or how, size and whatnot?
Yeah, I think that every trade, it really comes down to context. And, we all mentioned the term trade too, where it's like, I'm not sure if even TradeFly, like if you're talking about like a leverage trade for that Bitcoin position, or just like a buy and hold spot. I assume it's probably spot, but
that one was spot.
Okay. But like, even when we mention trades, I feel like everybody goes to the default of like leverage positions, but anything is a trade, right? If you buy and sell a house, you're essentially trading it, right? But yeah, I think there's context that has to go along with it where, for me, for those big, those big key lows that I was just looking at, right? Generally, because just, you know, as anything else, right? You don't know if it's going to go lower, if it's going to go higher. But for me, if I'm looking to get fresh entries, even for right now, right? I'm in a short. I don't know if it's going to play out. I've already took profits. I have it on a couple accounts, but it could just jet out of here, right? So for me, I'm not looking along here or buy here, I guess, because it's up so much. So for me, like I'm just, you know, the risk management tells me to at least wait for, at this point, if I wasn't in, or if I'm looking for just, you know, take profit off of another trade, dump it into some other spot hold, I'm looking for that 63.4, right? At least. And then after that, go from there. But, you know, when it comes down to that level, or for example, when we came up today to that 67,300, you know, that was a big key level. We got a nice reaction from it, right? We got a huge rejection. And I'd been waiting for that. I've been targeting it, and I had probably, I guess you could say, yeah, that's 1, 2, probably 3 hits of confluence. I'd probably say at least 2 decent ones. And then, you know, depending on where we are, like if we're coming up and taking highs or taking lows or liquidity grabs, as many would call it, those tend to be money, right? Because it's one of those things where it comes down to patience, and most people aren't patient enough. So just like TradeFly was patient as hell for the 48K for 2 months, you know, that was everybody else's stop loss, and that was his entry. And you'll hear that time and time again, right? Your stop losses should always be your entry in theory, right? Like that's kind of like always the thing, or the majority of people. Obviously, if you're experienced, you don't necessarily have to go off of that. But where most people are going to put a stop loss is actually probably where most, you know, the big dogs are going to come in for the entry. So yeah, it's just going to depend on context, and then, you know, what the overall trend is as well. Like for me, like, you know, I said I was running around for a hurricane last week when we came down to 58.9. There was also, you know, a little bit more of another level right below that, a 50, like, you know, $800 difference. So would I've went like all in right there on like a short-term trade? Probably not. I probably would have, or at least you got to give yourself room, you know, for what else is around you. And I guess that's the other piece, right? Is to kind of just note that, you know, you could front run something else and, you know, be in an overall uptrend, and it's still okay to look for a short, but, you know, be aware that you just got to be able to manage that all as you go. So I guess it just comes down to context, is what I'm trying to say.
I got one last question for you, CVO. We always talk about Bitcoin. I know you talk about Ethereum. You're big on Ethereum. What about these altcoins? What about these meme coins? I told you I was going to hit you with a couple of curveballs, man. These meme coins have been, you know, leading the market when it comes to percentage gains, just spot. You know what I mean? So what are you doing with meme coins? Are you getting into the meme coin casino? Are you, you know, trading leverage? Because a lot of your leverage positions that I see use like 21x. Am I right or am I wrong? Because I see a lot of them, and so I know that. So your risk to reward, your risk management, your risk to reward seems like you have a certain set of rules or a certain, you know, point that you want to take and a certain point that you're willing to lose on each trade. So is that something that you take over to the meme coins, or are you even, you know, doing meme coins?
My man's over
like
here
that?
asking for that secret sauce, baby.
Yeah, no, I don't mind talking. So for me, you'll only see that 21x pop up on Bitcoin and Ethereum. And the reason being is the market cap and the way that they move, right? You know, when you get to key levels, or if you get a huge, and this is the other thing too, right? I don't ever, and I say ever, I very rarely will leverage trade altcoins. That's why you'll constantly hear me say mid to long-term plays, buy and holds on the alt. You don't need the leverage trade. Even if you just short, or if you're looking for a short, I guess you could just 1x short or potentially 1x long even. But the amount that they move on their own, you're just asking to be stopped out or liquidated. And then B, you got to watch Bitcoin like a hawk, because as we all know, Bitcoin is the pulse of the market. So if you got a great entry on this altcoin, but Bitcoin pulls back 2%, guess what? That altcoin is pulling back 5 at least, right? So in the sense of a 21x leverage trade at 5%, you know, obviously you'd be stopped out, but if you're not, you're liquidated at least. I would go maybe 2, 3x, maybe 5, depending on, you know, Solana's maybe one I kind of tinker with as far as like leverage would go. The only reason I'd throw that much on Bitcoin is just because you get smaller moves, right? So, and here's a little tidbit on the leverage, right? Leverage to me, because we're just in such a new world of this, and we don't have in the United States, at least, there's no regulations, there's no regulated, you know, place where we can go yet. You know, there's ETFs now, but you can't necessarily trade, you know, with any leverage, or I guess even really with any kind of real size, unless you're going to go with an ETF place. But for me, you know, on these exchanges that I can't trust, and you never know if there's going to be an FTX collapse, what I utilize the leverage for is, instead of holding $100,000 on an exchange that, you know, could totally rug pull at any time, I keep 5,000 on it, and I throw $2,000 on a trade with 21X, I'm risking 1.5% most times. And, you know, talking about $400, $500 on a trade. Risk to reward is usually, you know, 3 to 5%. I'm looking to make 1,800 to 2,000 depending. And then I move on from there. If I take the loss, I have the other 3,000 that I can top back up my 2,000. Instead of having that 100K, I've only got 5K. And then anytime I'm, you know, at the end of the week, I profit up, I move that all, you know, back out to my off ramp, and I just keep it at 5K. And I go from there. And if that exchange goes down, the 5K I'm out is whatever, right? That's a Tuesday afternoon in crypto. But it really is just the ability to increase your, you know, leverage your buying power without overexposing, right? It's to limit your exposure to an exchange in theory. Like I don't trade like I'm trading 21X and I'm making 120% on a move. I'm trading 40K, 50K, and I'm going to make 6%. Right. So that's how you got to look at it. That's how I look at it. That's the real way, in my opinion, that you should like utilize leverage. Too many, though, come on with $1,000 and they roll the whole dice and that's their whole portfolio. And the issue will be is that they're going to, you know, take a hit. And then what happens when you take a hit and you don't have money to top it back off? So now you lose 20%. Now you got $800. And what are you going to do the next time? You're probably going to up the leverage. You're probably going to revenge trade it. And you lose another $100, or you got to make, you know, 50% just to get to, you know, back to break even plus a benefit there. It's just not really worth it. But it's also a strategy. It comes out of strategy at the end of the day. So that's the leverage play behind it. And I really only throw it behind Bitcoin and ETH more than anything because of their market cap and because they fluctuate so much differently, right? So 3 to 5% is a really big day on those two. When in the altcoins, it's I'm sure you're fluctuating 3 to 5% every minute.
Yeah, right on, dude. I mean, psychology, man, that's a big thing too. Like I've been there before when I thought I was King Dingling, had like a 76% hit rate. I was like, ain't no way I'm gonna lose twice in a row. I sure enough did. And I got hit. I got hit, man, for a G at a time. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Oh man.
Last
Last board run.
moves.
Last board. Right. Yeah. Last board when I first really started to learn how to trade or try to trade, man. Oh, I was getting tore up. I mean, I make 400 off, you know, luck, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm up 1,400. Then boom, it's gone. Then I re-up, boom, it's gone. I re-up, boom, it's gone.
Yeah.
So you know, losing is the tuition you pay to learn, man. So when the bear market came, I said, okay, I'm not losing money like this next time. So you know, got a little bit better, got a little bit smarter.
And to answer the question on the meme coins is like, I honestly, I've never truly, you know, I never got into the ICOs, which is, you know, pretty much the meme coins of 2017. You know, they were pretty much rug pulls. A couple of them were bangers. Most of them were trash. And then, you know, we graduated into DeFi, which actually was okay. I still think some of those were decent, but there was many of them that kind of went to zero. And then, you know, we went to NFTs. And then now this time around, you've got the Solana meme coins that, you know, or just anybody making meme coins and celebrities making meme coins and, you know, content creators making their own coins. And I've just watched them all, you know, left and right. At some point, all of those go to zero, or at least the majority. And it's just, you know, it really is what you said. It's a casino for me. There's no real risk in that as far as like the way I am doing things at this point. I'm not looking to really roll the dice with $500 or $1,000, you know, and I know that, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, I don't know this, I guess, but it's more likely that Bitcoin, Ethereum, and there's way other, you know, a ton of other altcoins I trade too. And more so for those like, you know, buy and holds and stuff like that. You know, I look for things that are not going to just possibly rug pull me, right? So the allure to that is for, you know, obviously somebody that's coming in, and not everybody, but for the most part, you know, you don't have a ton of big dollars, and not to say like I have big dollars I'm trying to throw around, but I just don't tend to get involved with the meme coins and everything, just because they kind of just have their seasonality, in my opinion, and then they come and go. And I just feel like, you know, also just with and same for you guys, right? Like we have, you know, as much as we don't want to admit it, you know, we have an influence on people's, you know, thoughts and what they, you know, see us talk about. And I've just kind of learned and been burned from like small caps and micro caps and all that stuff. And I just tend to stick away from it. And unless it's like a sure thing, or I very much like, you know, throw so much, you know, warning around it or stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I really truly haven't played with too many. The few that I do is like with, which obviously is like a larger cap at this point. One I do play around with a lot too is a Trump coin. That one's actually been a pretty good one off like several times. But any of the other ones where you got to like hop on like a Solana wallet or like anything that you can't, you know, get on an exchange, like I really don't try to mess with them too much personally.
Yeah, I know one of those Trump coins, it like released on one of the exchanges, and I was like, yeah, I'll take a flyer on this just for funsies. I made like 20% in like 4 hours. And I was like, okay, I'm good. That's a good night for me. And I never traded. I never looked at it again. But yeah, we're super careful on this channel, man. One of the things that we don't really do is promote tokens or any projects really. So like we'll do deep dives on them. And
hold on now.
Oh,
I
you
was promoting Popcat for the Popcat. Well, I was telling people about Popcat for the.
That's your like for trading. But I
Hey,
mean,
man,
in terms of like,
I'm 1 for 1.
I
Man.
mean, in
Popcat,
terms
I'm
of
done.
shilling a project or a coin, man.
Oh, I was shilling, baby. I was shilling.
No, don't listen to this guy. All right. He did make you money though. He did. I'll give him that. That's real. All right.
I did want to let me, if you guys don't mind, I just wanted to touch on Bitcoin dominance real quick because you know, one thing I do note is I mean, we're seeing a little bit of moves here out of Bitcoin, and you know, you got obviously altcoins doing their thing. Sui, actually, if you don't mind, I'll pull up Sui real quick because that was a good one. It's been a great one actually, and then I'll just touch on the Bitcoin dominance because I do believe that we're gonna, you know, we're very close to seeing another, you know, what everybody considers an altcoin season. So I've been really, you know, I sold a lot, like I said, back in $3,300 ETH. I've been scaling back very heavily. I'm almost fully allocated at this point. So hopefully we don't go to 43K now. But if we do, I guess it is what it is. But yeah, Sui had a huge run, right? So back in August, on that August 6th, once again, when you're looking at Bitcoin crash to your 48K or 50K when you got it, that was the #1 day to get in on altcoins, right? But you had to be prepared for it to some degree. And I had this one level down here on Sui. I had it as an alert. I didn't have it as like a pre-buy or anything like that. And once again, I'm talking spot buys and holds. I'm not looking for a leverage position. But I did end up getting in around the bottom of this range, like 55, 54 cents, 56 cents, whatever. And we've ran it up, right? And we've come in, and Sui was one that I had noted I thought was going to be the first to kind of make new all-time highs. I don't know if that is accurate or not, but it is definitely has made new all-time highs. I don't know if it's the only coin as far as like something that's not a meme coin. Potentially get a little pullback here, right? But otherwise, you know, looking for like 340, and this has been a monster run, right? And you've had just a few of these, not really everything. But I do think that we're, you know, stepping on the doorstep to where we're going to get those moves again, right? And the big piece of that is the Bitcoin dominance. You know, if you're familiar with Benjamin Cowan, he's been preaching about that forever. And, you know, I've kind of tended to agree that he's going to see his 60%. But up here, this 60 to 63% Bitcoin has been my target that I've been waiting on pretty much for the better part of this year so far. And I got to line up with Ethereum as well, but basically looking for that to push up into these regions. It doesn't have to necessarily be this exactly. Maybe it does top at 60, but I don't really see anything at 60 besides just a rounded number. So I anticipate we'll probably go a little bit higher. But when this reverses, this is, you know, as if you don't know yet, right? This is like altcoin city, right? Just the smallest pullbacks here. You know, Sui has managed to go 400% while the dominance of Bitcoin is actually going up. That's crazy, right? Like, so the altcoins as a whole tend to get a really good move. And I'm not trying to incite any FOMO or anything like that. And once again, still like kind of be, you know, strategizing how you want to play these potential moves if they arrive. It's all big ifs, right? I don't know what's going to happen. But I do anticipate that if we're going to see this, it's probably going to be in, you know, Q4, I guess. So November and December, I've had my eyes on these areas here for the dominance to peak up. And then I'm looking for like 4 or 5 months of upside, I guess, similar to what we saw in 2021, you know, January to May, or January to, yeah, about May, where we just saw monster moves. So I bring that up because the altcoins as a whole, I mean, it's one of those things where Bitcoin sneezes and the alts just completely, you know, melt to the downside. But if you're finding those areas now, and like Sui was a great one on August 6th, I wouldn't say Sui is a great buy right now, but there are dozens of other opportunities. And then when those moves do start to come in, you can capitalize on them, but you kind of want to be paying attention now while everybody else is not, because you don't want to be, you know, coming into things when somebody, like even myself, right? I'm already in Sui up 400% almost. I'm a nobody, but you know, if me and 1,000 other people are dumping bags like on the people that are coming in, you know, that's just how that whole world plays out, right? So I say all that just to say I think we're coming up very soon. I pointed this same thing out last year with Evan Aldo. I think it was on September 11th, October 16th ish. It was the time frame we were looking at, and like that was actually another harmonic we were trading, and that was when everything broke out. It was on October 16th last year, right? So 1 year from today, just about. But anyways, I point that out just to kind of give hope that, you mentioned that we talk about Bitcoin a lot. It's the pulse of the market. You want to gauge that. And there also is like 75% of the time where Bitcoin is going to rule the market. And that 25% when it does not is amazing, right? But you just kind of want to time it. You don't want to fall in love with too many things, kind of leave the emotions to the side. Next time you see any of the celebrities endorsing, crypto and all the laser eyes come back out, that's kind of top city, in my opinion.
Yeah, man.
So
Dude,
I
the
put
blue
a
laser
okay.
eyes when those things came out, I
Yeah.
was like, nope,
Yeah.
that's it.
So me and CVO did a video, I think it was last month or the month before last, we were talking about the 4-year cycle, but he has another theory talking about the
Housing
20-year
market.
cycle, the housing market cycle. So I put a link in the chat if you guys want to go check it out after this video. It's a very, very insightful video, man, over on my channel, man. So I learned a lot from that, and it made 100% sense too once I really broke it down after the video and did some, my due diligence. So I put that link in the chat, so make sure you go check that out as well, man.
So
Appreciate
you in
CVO,
real
as
estate as
always.
well?
I'm not as much,
Okay.
sadly, but yeah, I track the housing market cycle to kind of like correlate to my higher time frame analysis, and that's kind of what got me like really interested in anything. Was I came across this one guy, man, in 2012, like when YouTube was like watching a VHS, right? Some guy had a napkin and he was drawing out pretty much what I drew out for FD on that video. And it was 2012. And I kid you not, I'll never forget. I wish I could find the video. I don't even know what it was called, but it was so old. It was literally like back anyways. But what he said on there stuck with me forever. And he was showing the 20-year housing market cycle. Obviously 2012 was right after, 4 years after 2008 collapse. And he was stating that was the beginning of the next housing market cycle, 18, 20 years average, whatever. And then there's another big confluence I found with Philip Anderson. He's an analyst that has a book called The Secret Life of Real Estate and Banking. But anyways, the gentleman on the YouTube channel drew up this thing, and he was like, if you don't buy a home by 2016, or if you don't own a home by 2016, the next best time won't be till 2033 to 2035. And obviously in 2012, you're like, oh, whatever, everything just crashed. Everything was in foreclosures. You could, take out $500K and buy like 5 condos on the beach. And, here we are. So 2016, 2017, 2020 came, and, everything has just exploded. And, even with things, we had interest rates and all these things kind of hike over the last couple of years. You had some pullbacks in the housing market, but not really too much. And my big thing too is that which I kind of fell into with more of the real estate book from Philip Morrison. He pointed out the cycle broken down, which like check out that video on FD White. But we were saying how like you get the 7 to 10 year move, and then you get a black swan event. You get about 2 to 3 years, 2 to 4 years. Once again, it's averages, but you get 2 to 4 years of like sideways, like just uncertainty, fear. You get high interest rates, you got high interest rates, you have high inflation, everybody expects a recession, and then you get like 5 to 7 more years of just face melting rally to the upside. And that's in stocks, which correlate to that's housing market, which coordinates to the stocks. And crypto was born 2009, but really like started hitting the charts by 2011, right as this cycle was starting. So I've had this theory for the last couple of years here that we may be watching the first 20-year cycle unfold here with Bitcoin, right? So like even right now, how you were stating, and I'm pure speculation on this point, but it's just going to be interesting to see how and where, these assets get to, because last time around, including myself, I targeted 250K in 2021 for Bitcoin. Obviously we fell way short of that. Now this time around, it's like even I'm more, obviously I have more conservative targets, but I feel like everybody does this time as well. So it's kind of interesting to hear like the very like under 100K and whatever, and who knows how it's going to play out. We're all just rolling the dice every day out here. But I'm just interested because the end of that 20-year cycle, where I anticipate from basically stocks, housing, and crypto, at least stocks and housing, because they've done it every single time in the past. You've had these huge rallies, and then they end in pretty big demises, right? So the last one was 2008. For me, I think this next one is going to be 2029, 2027, 2029 in that window, maybe, right? It's a 100-year cyclical event cyclical anniversary, I guess you could say, from the Great Depression. Lands around that time as well. So it's just going to be interesting to see how it all lays out.
And you know what? To add on to that, man, before we get out of here, I think like think of everything, and we got, with the debasement, with the debt, national debt, and all that. I think we got a little bit more to kick the can. I think we got one more ace up our sleeve to kick that can down the road just a little bit, and I think that will coincide with, like you said, 2028, 2029. They're saying Social Security's running out by 2030. It's just gonna be complete chaos, man. So we will see what happens. So that theory stuck with me, so I wanted to bring it up.
Hold on tight. That's what I hear. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap this one up. I am going to share CVO's socials real quick here, just so you guys can see that. We do it right here. That way I can hear people talk as well. All right, so this is his X account, and then you can find him at CVO_crypto. And then for YouTube, you can find him at, again, CVO_crypto. I like it. You kept a little bit of continuity there, man. You don't see that all the time. That does make it easier, for sure. All right, so check them out. Go like, subscribe. I will do that live here. I am now one of your subs, CVO, and I think
so
I just
CVO also has a big following over on TikTok. So I think he does a lot over on TikTok too, if I'm not mistaken.
I do not do TikTok.
Is it the same handle?
Sadly, that one is CVO.crypto.
There it is, man. There it is.
I got a couple messages from you a couple months ago saying you can make me 100,000. Was that you or no?
Yeah, only if you send me 100,000 first, I'll send you 200,000 back. Yeah.
Right.
Make sure you do that.
Right on. All right, cool. So go check him out. Give him a like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Turn notification bells on so you can get some of his content when he releases it. And then after that, once you guys are done with that, go ahead, bump on over to Billy Goat Tales. You know, that's part of our family as well. So we always send people there on Tuesdays after the show to Billy Goat Tales. Looks like they got an AMA with Digital Asset News, Rob. So that should be a pretty good one. So yeah, nice. Go check them out. Catch whatever they're doing. I think they're probably going to be wrapping it up soon, to be honest. We went a little bit long today, but it was worth it. CVO, man, dude, we appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the channel. Much appreciated.
Pleasure, man. Thank you guys for having me. It's always fun.
It was cool. It was cool, man. Anything you would like to say to the people on the way out?
Just keep a level head. That's all I could say, right? Don't get too wrapped up in all the. And I say this like earlier today on Twitter. I posted, when we punched, and we're punching into like 67,000 right now. And I just wanted you to take a look around you right now, because 5 days ago we were at 59K. Something to just think about. 14 days ago, we were, at 66, and then jumped, all the way back down to whatever we came down to. And then the news at that time. Right. So like I said, I don't mean to be insensitive to what goes on around the world or whatever. There's definitely things that, you can use to analyze. You guys seem to do a really good job of that. But the really scary stuff, I feel like is just kind of note where we are when those things come out, because generally the news is the scariest near a low and the most exciting near a high. And then aside from that, just, keep your strategy and in play and look for these altcoins, man. Cause I'm telling you, I think we're about to see, the move here in the coming weeks to months.
Yeah. We talk about that a lot, man. Like FD, he always has this thing. He's like, yo, when I put on the shades, I'm running around the house. That's time to sell. That's time to sell. And then when everything's on fire and like people are like, crypto's going to zero, it's time to buy. So
when I put these on with the gold on the side, it's time to sell.
Oh shoot!
Because FD's running around the house, man, pure FOMO. So
I love it.
That's your sale indicator.
Got his hater blockers on, man.
So
I know when you show up in the morning, not in the morning, like pre-show, and you got those on, I'm like, oh, I'm selling the bag. It's it. I'm done. Bag. Right on. All right, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you again, everybody that was in the chat. Much love to you guys. We were mixing up with you a little bit throughout the show here. But again, it's always nice to have you guys watch the show. It's truly appreciate it. So like and subscribe if you have not. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys trade safe. Have a good night, and we will see you tomorrow.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.